Greetings to you all. We're here with another training session for you. In this session, we're going to cover training on repairing switching power supplies. Actually, we want to introduce a tool to you that's used for testing power supplies. It's known as a power tester, and it's also commonly called a power tester in the market. As you can see, it has various input sockets. The device you see here is a power tester, specifically designed for testing switching power supplies, and it has its own dedicated input ports. With this power tester, you can fully test a switching power supply. What the power tester does is show whether all the wires that actually carry the output voltages of a power supply, like the wires you see here, are functioning properly. It checks whether their voltages are actually appropriate and stable, or if the voltage is not stable and there are fluctuations and the power supply has issues with its output voltage. With a power tester, you can easily find this out, and here we'll briefly cover this topic as well. And we'll show you how to use the power tester. So for this we bring another power supply here to test it and see what its output voltage is like. Here we place a power supply, which is a computer power supply, and we proceed. We connect the power cable to it and start testing it. Here you can see its connectors. I'll also show you how to connect its connectors to the power tester. So here, as you can see, we actually connect the power cable to the power supply, like this, and then we turn on the power switch. After turning on the power switch, we use the power tester to turn on the power supply. But as you can see, the power supply fan is still off, meaning it hasn't actually turned on yet. So here I'm going to free up its cables so I can connect them to the power tester. As mentioned before, the power tester has different types of connectors, so here we go. Based on the pins that the power tester has, we connect the power tester to the power supply itself, as you can see. Here the power supply has a 24-pin connector, and all these new power supplies are 24-pin. We connect the 24-pin section, or actually the 24-pin socket, to the corresponding pins on the power tester so that when we connect it, you can see that the power tester turns on and starts working. It starts indicating, and the power supply fan, which you can see in the image, is spinning as well. So when we connect the power tester to the power supply, it starts indicating as well. Here it shows us some information, and each piece of this information has a meaning, which I will explain to you here. As you can see here, the 12-volt value is steady and not blinking. That means pay attention to the negative 12 volts. The negative 12 volts is normal and there is no problem. In the next section it shows the positive 12 volts, but it's blinking and displaying 2 L's, which actually indicates that the 12-volt voltage is low. In fact, it's saying that the 12-volt voltage of this power supply is low or doesn't exist. The 2 L's for the positive 12 volts also mean low, that is, the voltage is low. In the next section, we see the 5-volt VSB, which is the same as the 5-volt standby. Here, since it's stable, it actually means that this voltage is also normal, as you can see here. The positive 5 volts of the power supply is completely normal, and there is no problem with it. The positive 12 volts of this socket, meaning the yellow wire, is related to the 12 volts. As you can see here, it's normal and there is no problem because it's not blinking. The 3 and 10 volts of the power supply are also completely normal and there is no issue. What remains is the positive 12 volts, which is blinking here. In fact, this power supply is healthy in terms of functionality. This indicates that the 12-volt line related to the 4-pin socket is not connected. Therefore, we will also connect the 4-pin socket. Where should you connect the 4-pin socket? You can see it here. Look, if you check the power tester, there's a 6P written here, which means 6-pin. Let me hold it like this so it's easier for us. Take a look, you can see here it says 6P, meaning this socket and this part are for the 6-pin. And this is for the 4-pin. You need to connect it to this socket, which here also shows us the 4 to 8 pin. Alright, so now we connect the 4-pin as well. Here we find the 4-pin, and this is the 4-pin, this one. Pay attention, come here. Look here, it even shows that the 4-pin should be connected to this part. Like this, you see, when I connect the 4-pin, the 12 means 12 volts. The positive that was blinking has stopped, and you no longer hear the buzzing sound, as you can see. All the output voltages of this power supply are currently normal, which actually indicates that the power supply is completely healthy. If you want to test a power supply, you can very easily tell from its performance. You can notice it. For example, when I actually disconnect the 12 volts related to the 4-pin connector, you see that it starts blinking and beeping again, which indicates that the voltage is low. When you connect it, you see that not only does it show the voltage, but you can also see that all the voltages are fully present. So you can use the power tester you see here, and by purchasing such a power tester, you can easily test a switching power supply and make sure it is working properly and confirm that it is healthy. So you should use a power tester. Pay attention to this. When you insert the 24-pin and 4-pin connectors, make sure you have connected the pins correctly. Sometimes you'll see that the pin itself is faulty. It doesn't connect properly, which can cause the tester to show a lower input voltage than expected, or even it might say there's no voltage at all, while in reality, the problem is with the pin. You might mistakenly think the issue is with the power supply, so make sure to pay attention to this point. Well, in this session, you also learned how to use a power tester to actually check a power supply, a computer power supply, or what we call switching power supplies. Both types of switching power supplies that have input pins, and you can use the power tester you see here to check them. Test them and make sure everything is working properly. When the power tester is used, it shows the status of the output voltages in this way, normally and without blinking. This means that the power supply is healthy, just as you saw here. In fact, when we disconnect the 12-volt line, it displays an error. That is low voltage or under voltage in this state. The opposite might also happen, meaning you might have connected the pins, even the 4-pin and all the sockets, but instead of showing two L's, it might show, for example, that the plus 12 volts is H, or display two H's, which actually means you could say that's a fault as well. It means high voltage, that is, the voltage is above the limit. When the 12-volt voltage, for example, reaches 13 volts, the power tester again actually shows you the area. Instead of double L, which you saw here, it displays double H. So whenever any of the voltages show you double H, it means the power supply is faulty. If it shows double L as well, just like you saw here before connecting it, when checking the 4-pin, it means the power supply still has a problem. And only if all the voltages are stable, which they are here, and you don't hear any beeping sound, that means the power supply is healthy. In this case, our power supply is also completely healthy. And now you are familiar with the power tester as well. In the next training session, we want to actually open up the power supply itself and start working with a power supply in practice. I'll introduce you to its different parts, piece by piece, as we work with it. We'll go through each part of the power supply one by one. Basically, we want to dedicate an entire session to it so that you can fully get familiar with the different parts of a power supply, and then later we can move on to repairing it. So until the next session, goodbye.